Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. We're doing another chatty get ready with me today with me and our guest host, Olive. This is my partner's cat. She's spicy. She's not in the mood for pets. She's a little spicy potato. So today's video is actually suggested by a commenter, and I totally intended to screenshot this comment and save it and post it when I made this get ready with me, and then I didn't do that. But rest assured that today's topic was suggested by a commenter and I liked the suggestion, so that's what we're going with for today. And today I'm talking all about like building a collection of body jewelry. As an aside, if y'all have suggestions for get ready with me's, I would love to hear them. I kind of want to keep these a little bit more like casual and informal, and like not necessarily always body piercing related, but yeah, I'm really enjoying filming these. But yes, on I think one of my stretching videos, someone commented and was like, how did you build this collection of body jewelry? Like, how did you get all of this stuff going? And like, I don't know, that didn't really feel like it needed like a full like educational video. That was something that I felt like sitting down and chatting about. So that's what we're gonna do today. So, building a collection of body jewelry. As many of you may know, I have a very large collection of body jewelry. It's actually kind of a problem. Buying body jewelry is my vice. I have very limited self-control in that area. And honestly, it's like, it's kind of an honor for me to be known as like a collector or someone with a collection. Like, one of the makers was recently talking about having me on a podcast that they do about jewelry collectors and things like that. And I was like, you consider me like enough of a collector to be someone you talk to about that? I was so honored by that consideration. I was so flattered by that consideration. And I have spent years building up like my collection and the body jewelry that I own, and it's been a really awesome experience. But as far as like growing a collection like mine and like ending up with a lot of pieces, and more importantly, a lot of pieces that you actually wear, because I think that's a big factor. Because someone can own a ton of jewelry or a ton of shoes or a ton of whatever, but if you only end up wearing the same 5 things, for me, like, what's the point? I don't buy my jewelry so that it sits in a box and looks pretty and gets dusty all the time. I buy my jewelry so that I can wear it out and enjoy it and love it and appreciate it. By the time this video will be posted, like, loose collection tour and plug unpacking will be on my page if you want to see what I'm talking about with my collection. But I first started buying body jewelry when I was like 16 or 17. Well, like, that's not true, because I was getting piercings before then. But I really started getting interested in it and getting high quality stuff at around 16 or 17. And I started with just regular body jewelry stuff for like my facial piercings and my ears and stuff. I was wearing low quality externally threaded stuff at the time. I did not know any better, and I learned about high quality jewelry, and I made it my goal to start getting some high quality jewelry and kind of like upgrading all of my stuff. And it just started as wanting to get like safer stuff, and I really loved opals. So my first goal was to just get a full set of white opals for all of my piercings at the time. And I feel like starting with a small goal like that is a really good place to start. Like, I just wanted a set of implant grade titanium jewelry with white opals for all of my facial and ear piercings, and that was it. I just wanted to know that I had quality stuff in all of those piercings and it was safe. And then I started like really discovering quality piercers and quality piercings, and I decided that what I wanted to do at that point was an ear project. That's what these days people would have called it an ear curation, but back in the day we called it an ear project. And more specifically, I wanted to do an ear project that could be submitted to Earmageddon, which was a competition that Industrial Strength ran every year for like cool ear piercings and cool ear projects, and it was super dope. And I'm low-key a little sad that the Earmageddon days are gone, because I always thought it was rad. But yeah, so I decided I wanted to do a cool ear project. And so the next portion of my collection was saving up money and doing this ear project. Now, I was 18 at the time, probably. My memory is terrible, so I might be lying. But I was 18, I believe, at the time, and you know, I didn't have a ton of money. I only had a little bit of money, and so, you know, we did a mixed gold and titanium curation, and I focused on some pretty pieces and some titanium pieces. But in researching for this ear curation was when I really started falling in love with bigger stretched ears and fancier jewelry, and it was all over for me from there, and for my wallet. Rest in peace. This would have also been right around the time that I was starting to like get really serious about stretching my ears, and I decided that I wanted to go bigger, and this would be the time that I started, I think, approaching collecting pretty seriously. And two really big things happened at that time. One, I knew that I wanted to stretch to 1.5 inches. I had settled on that being my goal size. And in order to, well, a couple reasons. A, because I saw beautiful jewelry that was 1.5 inches and I didn't want to wait until I was at my goal size and have those one-of-a-kind pieces sell and never be able to get my hands on them again. And B, I wanted to make sure that I would go to 1.5 inches, but also that I wouldn't go any bigger. So I decided I wanted to start purchasing some stuff at 1.5 inches, even though at the time I was only at like, I don't know, like a 4 gauge or something. My ears were not very big. But I'll never forget, it was Jared from Dendrite Labs who posted this like raspberry fluorite geode material, and he was like, I've never seen this material before. I don't know if I'll ever see it again. I have just enough for a pair of 1.5 inch plugs. Who wants them? And I saw that material and I was like, my whole heart. And so I bought them. I bought them knowing that I would not be wearing them for like 6 years, but I bought them because I just knew I had to have them. And it was all over from there. I very quickly started buying like a lot of plugs, and I started buying weights because I realized that I could wear those at a smaller size, so that was nice. So I could buy like light to medium weight ear weights on like 6 gauge coils or 4 gauge coils, and I could wear those from where I was at then at a 4 to all the way up to now. And I have ear weights that I bought 10 years ago that I wore, you know, when my ears were itty bitty, that I still wear even now that my ears are large. Why is talking while doing your eyebrows so hard? Why is this so difficult? How do makeup YouTubers do this? This is impossible. I don't even have full eyebrows. And if I look back on all the time that I spent growing my collection, I think one of the smartest things and one of the things that allowed me to have such a big collection is that I really focused on practicality and function of the collection right from the get-go. So even as I was stretching, there were sizes where I bought like, you know, 2 or 3 pairs in my size because there was something really affordable or really cute. But I, for the most part, wore 1 pair of plugs in each size the whole way up, and they were usually boring and very affordable. And when I felt that itch where I was like, I've been wearing clear glass for the last year and I'm bored, rather than buy a cute plug in my current size or something like that, I either bought an ear weight or a hanging design that I could wear right then and there on days when I wanted to wear ear weights and hangers, or I bought a pair of plugs in my goal size. So when I would feel that like, oh, look, I have some extra money, I'm burning a hole in my pocket, and I really want these like pretty plugs, and they're in whatever, like 5/8, which is where I'm at right now, I didn't buy them. I'd buy a pair 1.5 inches instead, because I knew that I was going to stretch out of these sizes. I was not going to stay in these sizes, and there was no point in me purchasing jewelry at this size. So for the full process of my stretching journey, when the siren song of new jewelry was calling to me, I bought stuff in my goal size or stuff that I could wear then and now. And that really is probably one of the biggest factors in allowing me to grow a collection. And I see a lot of my clients make this mistake. there's a part of me that doesn't want to call it a mistake because, you know, everyone's stretching journey is unique to them and they're going to do what they want to do and they're going to enjoy it how they want to enjoy it. But this is Get Ready With Me. This is Lynn as a person. This is not Lynn as a professional. This is not me as a piercer saying this, but it's a mistake. If you're trying to have a big collection and you want to have a lot of fun jewelry in your goal size, and you are living on a budget and you don't have, you know, a ton of money to just drop on body jewelry constantly, it is a mistake. And that is getting really fun stuff or like cool stuff in every single size while they're stretching. And I know it's tempting, especially if you're stretching safely, you know that it's going to take a while and you really want cute stuff and you don't want to have like boring basic plugs in every size, but the fancier or nicer the plugs that you're getting, the more expensive that they're gonna be. You know, a pair of plain clear glass or black glass plugs is always gonna be cheaper than something with glitter or shapes or designs or decorations. And at those smaller sizes, it doesn't seem like a lot. We're talking about a $10 to $15 price difference. But as you get larger, the difference in those pieces really starts to go up. And when we're talking about like 5/8, a plain pair versus a fancy pair, you could be talking about $30, $40, $50 a difference. If you start talking about really decorative things like stone and stuff, sometimes up to $100 of difference between the simplest thing you can get and something that's really fancy or really fun. And yes, stretching is all about the journey, so if you want to enjoy like the journey and have fun stuff at every size, by all means go for it. But I got to my goal size and I already had almost 50 pairs of plugs in 1.5 inches. And they were all fun and they were all beautiful and I loved all of them. And I had been wearing the plainest glass single flares for like the last 4 years. But whenever I saved money on not buying something fancy or decorative in the size that I was currently at, I went ahead and spent that money on fancy stuff or pretty stuff. In my goal size. And while that was a really huge factor in building my collection, I'd have to say the other biggest factor in like building up a collection of body jewelry was becoming friendly with a lot of makers. And the key to becoming friendly with a lot of body jewelry makers is to be a good customer. And the key to being a good customer is being patient. And being flexible. And part of being a good customer for makers is spending money. They are a business. That's what they do. They want people to purchase their items, so you do need to buy things with them. But another really big part of being a good customer with makers is to be patient and to be kind in working with them. Basically, every single plug maker I work with or have jewelry from, I have seen posts about people being really disrespectful and impatient about lead times or turnaround times or just being kind of really unpleasant to deal with. And in today's day and age, we are so conditioned by Amazon and online shopping that a lot of people expect to order something one-of-a-kind handmade like this and receive it in, you know, a week's time. And these makers are very transparent about the fact that their stuff is going to take 3 weeks, 2 months, 4 months to be made. Sometimes for super custom stuff, 6 or 9 months with sourcing materials and things like that. And a really great way you can be a good customer of a maker is to be patient, is to order your plugs and say, hey, I know this is going to take a long time. I'm not worried about it. I will wait. There have been times where I've seen makers post about being backlogged or like a little bit overwhelmed from orders. Like maybe stuff happened, maybe they got sick, maybe a machine broke, and you know, I can just tell that people are being rude to them. And I will message them and say, put my stuff at the back of the queue. And I mean it. I will be like, listen, if there are people who are saying I need my stuff sooner, you know, I have a deadline or they're giving you a hard time, I will reach out to those makers and say, make my stuff last. And make other people's first. I am not in a rush to get it. I'd rather you feel comfortable making it. And just that like tiny showing of kindness and patience is huge. The other thing that'll really make makers like you and make them want to make you really cool stuff is to give them free reign. As many of you know, I'm a huge fan of Grit Lapidary. I love everything that Mateo makes, and basically every single time I order from him, I just tell him to make me whatever he wants. Every now and again I have like a stone I would like, or I have a request for like a vibe I'm going for from plugs, but generally I just throw money at that man and go, literally whatever you think is gonna look really cool, make it for me. And makers and plug carvers are artists, no different than tattoo artists or painters or things like that. They have a vision that we who are not makers do not. We do not see stones the same way. So giving them free reign is how you're gonna get the best and the coolest pieces. Hands down, the best and most beautiful pairs of plugs I've gotten are from giving makers free reign and being like, make me whatever you want. I don't think I have picked a material or a pair of plugs from Grit Lapidary or Red Fern in years. And then I've mentioned it a couple times already in this video, but probably one of the biggest elements for me of like building such a large collection and a successful collection is I only buy stuff that I know I'm gonna wear. And I know it sounds kind of silly to hear, but this was not something I did at first when I got into collecting. I would just see something that was a really good price, or it was just like, oh yeah, that's kind of cute, and I would just buy it. Especially if it were a good price. I bought a lot of stuff when I was younger, just because it was a cheaper pair of weights or hangers or plugs. And not because I was over the moon in love with it. It was just affordable, and it scratched that serotonin-filled itch of purchasing something. And after about a couple years of collecting, this would have been somewhere around like 2015, so I would have been like seriously collecting for a couple years now, I realized that I owned a lot of pieces that seldom if ever got worn, and that I wasn't even like excited about wearing. And they were pieces that I had really just bought because they were affordable, or like they were cute, but they weren't pieces that I like really loved. And I made the hard decision to downsize some of my collection, and that's the only time that I've ever downsized or sold pieces for my collection was then. And I pretty much went through and I culled all the things that I just didn't really wear that often, that I wasn't super excited about. And from that point, I only purchased stuff that I was like truly in love with and excited about. And sometimes that was still really affordable pieces, but a lot of times it meant that it was slightly more expensive pieces. And now my rule of thumb, if I'm purchasing or ordering something for my collection, is that I have to be really excited about it. I have to look at it and go, I will wear this. Like, I have to look at it and already know what kind of outfits I'm gonna wear with it, what kind of makeup I'm gonna do with it. Like, it has to call to me. And even if I see something and I look at first and I'm like, oh my god, that's so great, it's a great price, I want it, I'll step back and be like, realistically, how often am I gonna wear that? Where am I gonna wear that? Can I wear it to work? Can I wear it out to the bar or out to dinner? What kind of outfits am I gonna do with it? And if I'm not excited about all of those answers, not gonna buy it. I've become really picky, and through being picky, that's a really big part of how I built a successful collection, because everything actually gets worn, everything actually gets loved, and I don't end up spending a bunch of money on stuff that just like doesn't speak to me and doesn't resonate with me. And then, you know, obviously the elephant in the room, I clearly own a lot of body jewelry. I own a lot of body jewelry that is not cheap. It is expensive, and a big factor in having a collection like mine is, Lynn, how would you afford something like this? And the answer is, I'm insane. The answer is quite simply, I am insane, and body piercing is my special interest, and it's a focus in my neurodivergency, and I struggle with shopping addiction and overspending, and those two things combined to meet into a terrible whirlwind, and it just spiraled downhill from there. And even in some of the worst parts of my financial situation, if I had extra money, the thing that I wanted to spend it on to make myself feel better was always body jewelry. So I mean, I also worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day for a very incredibly long time. And when you're working that much, you don't really have time to like go out and do things and spend money at like bars and restaurants and things like that, because all you do is work. So any spare money that I had, I would typically end up spending on body jewelry. Now my life is a little bit more stable and I have time to go out and do things, and I'm much more responsible with money, and I'm in a healthier place with my shopping addiction, but I also honor the fact that body jewelry is important to me, that I love it, that I'm passionate about it, and I budget in my monthly budgets an allotted amount for purchasing body jewelry. Because I love it and I know that I'll always want more, and I basically at this point just do rotating orders. Basically every time certain makers open their books, I just throw them X amount of money that I've already budgeted for, and I'm just like, surprise me. In all seriousness, it's very funny to talk about, but I have definitely struggled with shopping and spending and overspending, and I have overspent on body jewelry often in the past, and it's not something to be proud of or brag about. It's definitely something that I struggled with. It is something that I worked on with my therapist to get better at, and it's something that I know other people struggle with as well. But a large portion of why I have such a large collection is bad spending habits. But learn from my mistakes, go into collecting body jewelry thoughtfully and with care, spend with reason, and be a really good client and friend to makers or to the piercers who are ordering your jewelry. Try not to be impatient or rude or entitled, and that will make those people much more likely to want to work with you, much more likely to help you out with getting pieces. And at the end of the day, it also just comes down to time. If you talked to me 10 years ago, I did not have a collection this size. If you talked to me 5 years ago, I did not have a collection this size. 2 years ago, I did not have a collection this size. None of this happened overnight. It all happened over time. Thanks for another chatty get ready with me. This was so much fun. If you were the person who left this comment, I really hope that you get to see this video, and I'm sorry I didn't screenshot your comment, but I'm going to be better about doing that in the future. And if you have suggestions for like more casual topics you'd like to see me sit down and chat about here, leave them in the comments down below and let me know. Have a great rest of your day. Hopefully we hang out soon. Bye!